Hello and thank you for tuning in. My name is Moses Leos III, Visual Media Coordinator at Hayes CISD, and your host for this little project we like to call Heard Across Hayes. Through this podcast, we hope to share with our listeners the many amazing stories that go on within Hayes CISD and the amazing people who do those great works each and every day. It's our hope that you enjoyed this series, and if you do, be sure to like and subscribe our social media channels. Thank you. If you've lived in the state of Texas long enough, chances are you've probably heard this sound cut through the night sky in the fall at high school campuses everywhere. Yes, little compares to the pageantry, excitement, and intensity that is Texas high school football. And here in Hayes CISD, our three high schools, Hayes, Johnson, and Lehman, are in the midst of their respective seasons. But for today's story, our focus centers on the Lehman High football team. However, it's not just the action on the field that draws our attention. Rather, it's found within one of the booths in the press box of Bob Shelton Stadium.
Come on. I got it. Tucker was 7 and 9.
Because within that booth, a group of Lehman High students and their teacher have devised a way to incorporate the amazing world of mathematics into the athletic realm. The tools of their trade? Laptops, tablets, and smartphones, all used to track data and create metrics that help their team succeed and keep players safe. And so, this is the story of Lehman High educator Ray Holland and Lobo Stats.
So, my name is Ray Holland. I teach at Lehman High School, and this is year number 6 in Hayes CISD. This is 18 overall, but this is year number 6 in Hayes CISD. I teach AP Statistics, Advanced Pre-Cal, and Advanced Algebra 2 this year. Oh, yeah.
All right, Ray, so let's kind of start with the all-encompassing question of how this all got started and where did it get started. So tell us a little bit about that.
So, long story, but I'll keep it short. So when I was in San Marcos, when I was teaching in San Marcos, essentially the team wasn't doing very well. And coming from a football family, I used to break down the NFL draft on my own just for fun. I still do that. And one of my students basically saw me doing this at my desk. I got interested and said, "Hey, you think you could help us?" And so then Mark Soto is the coach at the time. So I go down to his office and he's like, "Yeah, sure, we'll see what you can do." So we get on the huddle, and so I just start researching what all is possible, and we start putting some things together, some formulas together, and we end up in the playoffs. And so it kind of snowballed from there. And then as I'm doing my PhD at Texas State, what ends up happening is one of my professors, Dr. White, he sees it. He's like, "Hey, you should really get into this. You should research it." So it kind of starts there. And then when I come to Lehman, same thing. We were interested in trying to help the football program. And so what ends up happening is, I started doing a little bit at a time, building the program, showing that kids can learn advanced statistics through this. And then this year, Coach Castillo and Coach Moffitt were super gracious in allowing me to really just lean into what I do. And so, because Coach Castillo he's put so much trust in me, and he's like, "Hey, you know what you're doing? Go do it." And so that's what you see here. And we like to think that I can't take credit for the first win, but we like to think we helped.
So let's kind of talk a little bit about like the math behind it all, because
Okay.
like you said, there's formulas behind it, and obviously I guess we can keep it like within like the realm of like understanding for
Yes.
people that are
Yes.
interested.
Yes.
But tell me about that and like the formulas and getting that involved for this venture.
Yeah, totally. So the structure of it all is it starts with the question, what are we looking for, and then we have to figure out what we're gonna. So once we figure that out, then we go collect the data. Once we get the data, we go put it in a computer, and we try to see. Of course, our goal is points and wins, right? And then so everything that can affect that goes into that formula, and so and then just a side piece. The primary drivers are what Coach Castillo, Coach Rodriguez, and Coach Camacho are super interested in, because statistics in the sports realm was built off the coach. Believe it or not, if we can get the students to do 100% of the program or the design, right, and we can show them where these metrics are helping their ideas flourish, then we can actually build something nice. And so as we get into it, the coaches ask me for more and more, and that's where you kind of see some of these things. So the primary deal is we take what they're doing, their breakdowns, and we try to see how we can add on points and how we can add on wins to the season. That's the overall, without giving away trade secrets.
What's it like for the students when they and then understand like they understand like math is part of football, but
Yes.
even if they don't, like when students realize that there's a practical I guess end result for statistics in football, what goes through your mind when you see a student kind of come to that realization?
So that realization happens normally on their very first, we call them practices. So we do an hour and a half practice every Wednesday every week. And what's the coolest part is that, especially for a math teacher, and especially for us, we're always looking for how to engage the kids, right? The fact that we get kids, that may not have liked math, but you know what, they're here, and you know what, they're willing to figure out regression lines, slopes of lines, or how to do this, that, and the other. Gratifying is like, that's an understatement, right? The coolest part, even, and goes to kind of the whole research thing I was kind of alluding to, for all the students, I keep track of where they go, and so far every student I've had that goes through this program is working in a job that requires math or science, from financial analyst to being one just got into med school. Another, I have 2 or 3 that are math majors. Another one that's a 2 that are statistics majors now. And so the thing is that like these students wouldn't have actually done math had they not done this.
And for the students, how much fun is it for them to do this? Not only just the statistics portion, because they like math. You have to like math to do this. But also football. That's pretty cool too, that you get to bridge something that a lot of kids like with math. That's pretty awesome, right?
So believe it or not, the secret is whether the student likes it or not, they end up loving it by the end, right? So I have students that have no clue about football. But the thing is what I preach is that statisticians, we don't have to know, we just have to be willing to learn. And so that's what you see, is that about half of my students are just willing to learn the game so that they can apply the statistics and the math to it, right? And then you have the other half that know the game, and so now they're interested in, okay, well, there's something that I know, something that I'm interested in. How can I fit this into what I know? And so that's the piece, is I actually get to work with them on how to be a professional statistician, and I think it's kind of cool, So one kind of cool thing that I'd like to point out, this we're working on, and I hope, and I've actually talked to Coach Moffitt about this. We're actually working on putting together a presentation for the Texas High School Coaches Association to actually show that you can, number one, engage all students in athletics, regardless of where they are, right? And you can teach all students mathematics, any type of mathematics, no matter how advanced, on any level, to any child. And they can like it, they can learn it, and they can dig into it.
And just to clarify for everybody, we're talking about stats. We're not just talking about just like first downs, yardage gain. What else are we talking about?
So we're talking about so we started with decision making time for quarterbacks. Then we looked at offensive line blocking time. Now we're actually looking at zones on the field that we'd like to manipulate from an offensive standpoint. We're looking at hustle metrics and how we can get the defense to take away at least 1 to 2 touchdowns per game. So our goal is, and the ultimate goal of the models that we've come up with the coaches is to take 2 scores off the other team and then add a score to ours. And matter of fact, we found out that had we done that last year, this team would have actually made the playoffs last year. So the thing is if we can do that, plus we've figured out minimum number of wins. We've also looked at pitch counts for players, looking at fatigue. So the thing is, we measure their fatigue throughout the game, which is another reason why I have an earpiece. So we can actually talk to the coaches about who's had a lot of plays, who has a lot of yards, who has a hot hand, who has a hot hand against who on the defense, and the same thing going the other direction. So and then even getting into ball control. So we finally hit our goal last week. We had the ball for 68% of the game last game, and so we believe that actually all our metrics contributed to taking roughly about 2.5 scores off the board from the team last week.
But what about from a student's perspective? We've heard from Ray Holland about the inception of the program and how he's seen the program guide Lobos toward a great future. But what is it like for students currently working with Lobo Stats? Let's hear from senior Daniel Aguilar about being a part of Lobo Stats. So let's kind of begin with, just first and foremost, what's it like being up here and not only just getting to watch the game, but being able to work with stats? What's that like for you?
I think it's really fun, and just anybody that wants to try it, you should, because it's a great experience, and it can help you with it helps you with school, and it keeps you on your feet. Speaking of statistics and other things like that, and it's just pretty fun.
Yeah, I asked Mr. Holland about the bridging of the two. It's not often that you can bridge athletics with not only just academics but math.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like for you when you kind of see that come together, academics with athletics and math all kind of mesh?
For me, it's really fun to see both of them together because I guess the general thing that happens is you're either schoolwork, I guess, or you're either sports. But for people like me that like both, it's a good opportunity for something like that.
What's it like working with the actual statistics? How is it challenging? Is it easy? What's it like for you?
Personally, it's really challenging. I think there are moments where it can be chill and easy, but overall, you really need to focus while you're doing what we do.
What's the feeling like when you feel like you've made a difference? Because it feels like you do make a difference in giving. When the game's over, you give this to the coaches. The coaches know certain stats. What's it like for you knowing that you're making a difference for the team?
To me, it feels really great because this, it doesn't really benefit us, but we do it to help the team get further wins. Because what we gain, it helps them critique, and then the coaches go off of that, and then from that we can help win more games. So it feels really nice helping out the team like that.
Where do you think this can apply for you in the future, whatever you plan to do post graduation? Where do you think this can do for you?
Well, many people do this job for major leagues, like NFL, NBA, and I've considered that, and I think it could be really fun, and it could bring you a lot of money for one, and it could it's just a really nice experience to do that, to be a part of that.
What's it like learning all the little formulas and everything for this? What's that like for you?
When you're in the middle of it feels like it's just a lot and complicated. But when you get used to it, it gets really fun over time. I would say just to add like just what I was to restate what I was saying earlier about helping the team. Like it feels really good to help the team out and not like a I guess physical way, but like in another way of just helping the team to achieve more success.
We'd like to thank Lehman High School math educator Ray Holland and Lehman High School senior Daniel Aguilar for talking with us about Lobo Stats. If you'd like to hear more about this story or more stories for that matter, be sure to check our Hey CISD Facebook page at Hey CISD for more information. Thank you for listening, and until next time, this is Heard Across Hayes.